In every project, this is a crucial phase of the project where we migrate from the old platform, whatever that might be, to our new platform. And we quickly want to go through a couple of pointers and topics that we want to keep in mind when doing this, so, and how to actually do that in Shopware 6. So what we'll be talking about is the different options for adding entities or data, such as products and customers, to Shopware. We have a couple of flavors there, and then we'll talk about some of the recommendations we have from the field, from other agencies that have already done this before, from other merchants that have gone through that migration, that we can share with you to make sure that the migration is as easy as it can possibly be. The first way of importing data is CSV imports. I think this is the most basic way of importing, and something that should be familiar to most of you. It's a CSV file that we can generate from Excel, one of those tools, and I think it's something that most platforms also offer as an export option, which enables us to use this format for any source. So in Shopware we have some no code and low code tools for actually running these imports. By default, we have profiles in the CSV import that adhere to the format that Shopware has chosen. So these can be found under settings and then import export. If you want to have an example, there is documentation for that online in the merchant docs and in the dev docs. So by default, we have profiles such as customers, products, categories, variants, properties, orders, newsletters, promotions, and so on. So basically, any entity that you might have in your old web shop, it can be moved to the new web shop. In general, we're talking about fairly simple and flat data. So as an example, let's say I want to move my category tree that includes products with variants or configurable products. In general, what I would have to do first is import the categories, then the products, and then the variants that come, or the configurable options that come with that product, right? And I'll need to migrate the properties ahead as well. So it is there. There are some relations, but it's not like these relations are automatically created. So that's something to keep in mind. It is fairly fast. It uses the entity repositories under the hood, which means that while I'm importing a product, for example, all the event hooks and observers around that are fired. That means that any plugin that might tap into product creation is also fired. So ultimately, I will get a fairly decent performance on this, but it's not as fast as data migration that we'll go into in a bit. Like I said, there's also an export option if you want to see, for example, the sample data, what that looks like in this format. As a great addition to that, we can also create our own profiles that can either be done by adding them to a plugin as a developer, or we use the no-code option. So we can create a new profile, we give it a name, we give it the type of object that we want to import, such as customers or promotions or products. And from there, we can actually map the different columns in the CSV to the database fields. Again, it's a no-code solution, so anyone can do this, and it makes it a very powerful tool to have in your arsenal. If you have new entities that you might have created, right? You have in your own old platform, you have, for example, blog posts. Through creating a plugin, we can actually create also a profile for that. There's no code solution for that, but it's fairly low code. It's fairly easy to do. So anything can be imported through CSVs. Next up is, as I mentioned, the data migration tool. This tool is created for migrating data. It's very fast, very performant, and it comes highly configurable for developers. So we have a couple of profiles there that are already available. This is for Shopware 5, this is for Magento 1 and for Magento 2, and these profiles can also be used to adapt to, for example, a WooCommerce profile or what have you, but that'll take a little bit of effort. Profiles can also be easily extended, so we'll cover all the basics from products to promotions to shop settings and whatsoever. Let's say you have your own custom entity types in your old shop and you want to migrate those to Shopware 6, you have to go in and extend those profiles. But again, there's extensive documentation around doing so, so that should not be a problem. One of the more powerful options is also that it supports deltas, meaning I can migrate up to a certain point, and then a few months later, I can go in and migrate the rest. So for example, orders, I can migrate them up to April. And then from April, I can later on say, I want to migrate the rest of the orders up to September, October, whatever. So that's very, very powerful. It's also the fastest option that we have, simply because it circumvents some of the things that we built into Shopware 6. So it injects directly in the database. That is something to keep in mind. For in some cases, you might have a plugin that hooks into certain events on product or customer creation. Those would not be triggered. But in general, especially at the start of a project, this is the way to go to quickly migrate from the old platform to a new Shopware 6 installation. Already have your sales channels set up, your text set up, your properties, categories, and so on set up without too much hassle and too much time. So what we offer, like I said, we migrate the full shop, so that's anything from the catalog entities to orders, customers, settings, sales channels, and store views. So this is a fairly easy way to migrate. We'll come back in the tips and tricks on how to leverage this tool in a way where it causes minimal friction. Then the migration tool itself under the hood, it basically consists of 3 parts. So we have the reader, and the reader will take the data from Magento 1, Magento 2, or for example, your own platform, a custom bespoke platform even, take that into Shopware 6, and then we have converters that will actually convert this data to the standard format that Shopware 6 is accustomed to. So normally the heavy lifting, the business logic will be found in the converters, and then obviously the writers that are writing this to the Shopware 6 database. So if we are importing, for example, products and they are standard products from a custom implementation, we would have to change the readers and the converters, not the writers. If we have extra fields in our products and we want to import those into Shopware 6, we would have to extend the reader, the converter, and the writer. So this would be a few more levels that we have to adjust. But it's a fairly simple concept, and it's also easy to work with for a developer. Then the last option is the API layer. So the API layer is not necessarily there only to migrate data, right? It's we are built API first. We're a headless solution that also offers a front end. The API layer is, for example, also used for our admin area, which is built on Vue.js. It's used for Shopware PWA, our PWA solution. But it can also be leveraged to import data or to connect to an ERP system or a PIM system or what have you. So like I said, we're built API first. The good thing about this, we have full API coverage. That means that all data and all logic within Shopware 6 is covered by this API. There are no caveats, which means that any kind of data can be imported. It's well documented with something called Swagger, which is a default method of documenting APIs. So any developer will find it easy to read through this, even if they have limited or no knowledge of Shopware 6, which is quite powerful. And then it's great for complex data. So where we talked before about migrating certain entities, this is a great way to take very complex entities in your old system and move those over to Shopware 6. However, this takes a bit more more effort, right? You'll need to integrate that API layer with your own code. The good thing is this can be done in any programming language, so it's not necessarily required to have a PHP developer. This can be anyone, and with this documentation should be fairly easy for them to get set up. We'll get to this in a bit when we talk about some of the practice parts.